Story 1. The Cellar on Dead End Drive. It was early October, and I was in full nesting mode. My boyfriend, Mark, and I had just moved into a rental house in the suburbs of Richmond, Virginia. I wanted to surprise him by decking the place out for Halloween before he got back from a business trip. I scoured Facebook Marketplace for deals. I found a listing titled, "Huge bin of Halloween decor, $15, must go tonight." The photo showed a massive orange plastic tote overflowing with skeletons, lights, and pumpkins. It was a steal. The seller's name was Travis. His profile was bare. No friends, no posts, just a profile picture of a car dashboard. I messaged him. Me. Is this still available? Travis. Yes, you have to come now. I'm clearing out the house. He sent me an address. It was in a part of town I wasn't familiar with, about 30 minutes away. I asked my best friend Jenna to ride with me. We grabbed iced coffees and headed out around 8 p.m. As we drove, the neighborhoods got progressively worse. The streetlights became sparse, the houses more run down. By the time the GPS announced, "You have arrived," we were on a gravel road that dead-ended into a dense patch of woods. There was only one house at the end of the cul-de-sac. It was a small, dilapidated ranch style with peeling paint. The windows were dark, covered with heavy curtains. No porch light, no cars in the driveway. "This is sketchy," Jenna whispered. My phone buzzed. A message from Travis. "I see you. Come inside. The bin is in the back room." "He's watching us," I said, a shiver running down my spine. We looked at the house. In the front window, the blinds twitched. Someone was peeking out. I texted back. "Can you bring it out to the porch?" Travis. "It's too heavy. Just come in. Door is open." "Let's just go," Jenna said. "It's $15, I argued, though my gut was twisting. "We'll stay by the door." If it feels weird, we run. We got out of the car. The silence was heavy. No crickets, no traffic noise. We walked up the cracked concrete path. The front door was slightly ajar. "Travis," I called out. "In here," a voice replied. It was deep, raspy, and echoed from deep within the house. I pushed the door open. The smell hit us instantly. It wasn't a dirty house smell. It was sharp, chemical, and sweet, like rotting fruit mixed with ammonia. The living room was empty. No furniture. Just stained beige carpet and walls that looked like they had been punched repeatedly. "Travis?" "Back room," the voice growled. We walked cautiously down the short hallway. The air grew colder. We reached the back bedroom. The door was open. Inside, sitting in the center of the room, was a plastic tote. But it wasn't the orange one from the picture. It was a black, heavy-duty construction bin, and it was taped shut with duct tape. Standing in the corner, almost blending into the shadows, was a man. He was huge. He wore a dirty mechanic's jumpsuit and a mask, a clear plastic painting mask. He was holding a crowbar. "Open it," he said. He didn't move. "Where are the decorations?" I asked, my voice trembling. "Open it," he repeated, louder this time. He took a step forward. The crowbar tapped against his leg. Jenna grabbed my arm. "Run!" We turned and bolted. "Hey!" he roared behind us. We heard heavy boots thumping on the floorboards. He was chasing us. We scrambled out the front door, nearly tripping over each other. I fumbled with my keys, dropped them, picked them up, and dove into the driver's seat. As I jammed the key into the ignition, the front door of the house slammed open. The man stood on the porch. He wasn't chasing us anymore. He just stood there, breathing heavy, watching us. Then, he raised the crowbar and pointed it at the car. I peeled out of there, gravel spraying everywhere. We didn't stop driving until we hit a gas station 10 miles away. We called the police. They went to check the house. When they called me back the next day, the officer sounded disturbed. "The house is abandoned," he said. "It's been foreclosed for 2 years. But we found the bin." "What was in it?" I asked, dreading the answer. "It wasn't decorations," he said. "It was filled with lye, plastic sheeting, and a set of handcuffs." The man, Travis, was gone. The profile was deleted. He wasn't selling anything. He was setting up a kill kit, and he needed someone to come pick it up. I deleted my Facebook account. I don't buy things from strangers anymore. And every time I smell that chemical rot smell, I freeze. Story 2. The Hiker on Devil's Bridge. This happened in the fall of 2019. I was 23, fresh out of college, and doing a solo road trip across the Southwest. I've always been a loner, preferring the company of my camera to actual people. I stopped in Sedona, Arizona for a few days. If you've never been, it's otherworldly. Towering red monoliths, twisted juniper trees, and a silence that feels almost heavy. I decided to hike the Devil's Bridge Trail. It's a popular spot, but I wanted to get photos without the crowds, so I hit the trailhead on a Tuesday morning, right at sunrise. It had rained the night before, a rare desert downpour, so the red dirt was packed and dark, and the air smelled of sage and wet stone. I was about a mile in, adjusting my camera lens, when I first saw her. Standing off the trail, about 50 yards into the scrub brush, was a woman. She looked out of place. While I was decked out in hiking boots and moisture-wicking gear, she was wearing a long, pale blue dress that looked like something from the 1950s. She had long, silver-gray hair that hung loose around her shoulders. She was staring right at me. I waved, assuming she was a local eccentric. She didn't wave back. She didn't smile. She just pivoted slowly and walked behind a large boulder. I shrugged it off. Sedona attracts all kinds of spiritual types. Maybe she was doing a vortex ritual. I hiked for another 40 minutes. The trail gets steep, requiring you to scramble up some rock staircases. I was winded, stopping to drink water on a ridge overlooking the valley. I looked down at the trail below me, the path I had just climbed. There she was again, the woman in the blue dress. But she wasn't hiking. She was standing on a pinnacle of rock looking up at me. A chill ran down my spine, despite the morning heat. To get to that spot, she would have had to scramble up the same rocks I did. But she wasn't out of breath. Her dress wasn't dirty. She looked pristine, like she had just materialized there. And the way she looked at me, it wasn't friendly. It was intense, sorrowful. I turned and kept hiking, faster now. I wanted to get to the bridge and get out. I finally reached Devil's Bridge, a natural sandstone arch. It was breathtaking. I set up my tripod to take a self-timer photo. I framed the shot. I looked through the viewfinder. In the frame, standing in the middle of the bridge, was the woman. I lowered the camera. The bridge was empty. I blinked, rubbing my eyes. Dehydration, I told myself. I need to eat. I looked through the viewfinder again. She was there, but closer. She wasn't on the bridge anymore. She was standing at the edge of the cliff, 10 feet away from me. I ripped my eye away from the camera. There was no one there. I packed my gear in a panic. I didn't take the photo. I practically ran back down the mountain. On the descent, I passed a group of hikers coming up. "Hey," I asked, breathless. "Did you see an older woman? Silver hair, blue dress?" They looked at me like I was crazy. "No one passed us, man. You're the first person we've seen." I drove back to my Airbnb, a small casita in the valley. I locked the door and drew the blinds. I felt sick, a deep, nausea-inducing dread that sat in the pit of my stomach. That night, I couldn't sleep. The desert wind was howling, rattling the windows. Around 3 a.m., I woke up from a fitful doze. The room was freezing. I rolled over onto my back. Standing at the foot of my bed, illuminated by the moonlight filtering through the blinds, was the woman. She looked solid, real. She was wearing the blue dress. Her silver hair was floating slightly, as if she were underwater. She wasn't looking at me with anger anymore. She was looking at me with recognition. She reached out a hand. Her fingers were long and pale. She opened her mouth to speak, but no sound came out. Just a rush of cold air. I screamed. I scrambled backward, hitting the headboard, and fumbled for the lamp. I clicked it on. The room was empty. I grabbed my car keys and a knife from the kitchen. I sat in the corner of the living room with all the lights on until the sun came up. At 8 a.m., my phone rang. It was my dad. "Hey, son," he said. His voice was cracked, like he had been crying. "I have some bad news." He told me that his mother, my grandmother, Nonna Rosa, had passed away in Italy during the night. I had never met her. There was a family feud years ago, and my dad had moved to America and cut ties. I didn't know what she looked like. "I'm so sorry, Dad," I said, still shaking from my own night. "She sent a package last week," my dad said. "It just arrived this morning. It has some photos." A few days later, I got home. My dad showed me the pictures. There was a photo of Nonna Rosa from when she was younger, standing in a garden in Tuscany. She was wearing a pale blue dress, and her face, it was the exact same face as the woman on the trail. The same sorrowful eyes, the same silver hair. According to the time of death, she had passed away exactly when I was hiking Devil's Bridge. I'm not religious. I don't believe in ghosts. But I know who I saw. She came to say goodbye to the grandson she never got to meet. And she crossed an ocean and a desert to do it. Story 3. The Candle in the Basement. My best friend Darius and I have a dangerous hobby. Urban exploration. We call it Urbex. We grew up in Detroit, a city filled with the ghosts of the industrial age. Abandoned factories, empty schools, and crumbling mansions. We have rules. Take nothing but pictures, leave nothing but footprints, and never, ever break into a place that looks like it might be a crack den. Last November, Darius heard about a property in the Brush Park district. It was an old Victorian mansion, built in the late 1800s, that had been boarded up since the 90s. The rumor was that the interior was a time capsule. Furniture, clothes, everything left behind like the owners just vanished. We parked my truck 3 blocks away to avoid drawing attention. It was bitterly cold, the wind whipping off the Detroit River. We grabbed our heavy-duty flashlights and cameras and trekked through the snow. The house was a monster. Turrets, stained glass, rotting wood. The front door was boarded shut with plywood, but we found a cellar door around the back that had been pried open. We slipped inside. The air smelled of wet rot and ancient dust. We were in the kitchen. It was eerie. Plates were still in the drying rack, covered in 30 years of grime. A calendar on the wall was turned to October 1994. "This is insane," Darius whispered, snapping photos of a vintage stove. "I'm gonna check the upper floors," he said. "The staircase looks stable enough." "Cool," I said. "I'll sweep the ground floor and the library." We split up. I watched his flashlight beam disappear up the grand staircase. I walked through the dining room and the parlor. It was sad, really. A life interrupted. I found a newspaper on a coffee table, yellow and brittle. Then I saw a narrow door tucked under the main staircase. It wasn't the way we came in. It was the interior door to the basement. I don't know why, but I felt pulled toward it. I opened it. The hinges screamed, echoing through the silent house. I shined my light down. The wooden steps looked rotty and dangerous. But at the bottom of the stairs, I noticed something. The darkness wasn't absolute. There was a faint, flickering orange glow reflecting off the damp concrete floor. Fire? I thought. Did we start a fire? I clicked my flashlight off to see better. The glow remained. It was steady, rhythmic. Against every survival instinct I have, I started to descend. I stuck to the edges of the stairs, where the wood is strongest. The air got warmer as I went down, and the smell changed. It didn't smell like rot anymore. It smelled like vanilla. Cheap synthetic vanilla wax. When my head cleared the ceiling of the basement, I saw the source. In the center of the massive concrete room, someone had cleared a circle in the debris. Sitting on a small wooden crate were 3 lit candles. And next to the candles, facing away from me, was a high-backed leather armchair. It was in pristine condition, totally out of place in this ruin. And it was rocking. Creak, creak, creak. I froze on the stairs. A hand was resting on the armrest. It was pale, dirty, with long, jagged fingernails. The fingers were tapping rhythmically against the leather. Someone was sitting there, just waiting. I held my breath. I took a step back, trying to retreat up the stairs without making a sound. Crunch. My boot landed on a piece of broken glass I hadn't seen. The noise was like a gunshot in the silence. Down in the basement, the rocking stopped instantly. The hand on the armrest clenched into a fist. Then, the figure leaned forward and blew. Whoosh. The candles went out. The basement plunged into total pitch blackness. I didn't wait to see what happened next. I scrambled up the stairs on my hands and knees, tearing my jeans. I burst into the hallway. "Darius!" I screamed. "Run!" I heard Darius stomp across the floorboards above me. "What? Cops? Go! Now!" I sprinted for the back kitchen door. Darius came flying down the main stairs, looking terrified by my panic. He didn't ask questions. He just followed me. As we scrambled out the cellar hatch and into the snow, I heard it. Heavy, thundering footsteps charging up the basement stairs inside the house. Boom! 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 We ran. We didn't stop to hide. We sprinted the 3 blocks to my truck, unlocked it, and peeled out.
What was it?
Darius panted as we hit the main road.
Did you see a squatter?
He was waiting, I said, shaking. He had candles lit. He blew them out when he heard me. He wanted it, dog. We drove past the house one last time on our way out of the district. We looked at the ground floor window, the one that looked into the kitchen. Standing there, framed by the rotting curtains, was a silhouette. It was a man.
He was huge.
And he was holding one of the candles. It was lit again. He held it up to his face, illuminating a wide, toothless smile. He waved at us as we drove by. We stopped doing urbex after that. The police investigated the house a week later after we made an anonymous tip. They found the chair and the melted wax. But they also found a pile of driver's licenses in the corner of the basement. Licenses belonging to people who had been reported missing in the city over the last 5 years. He wasn't just living there. He was collecting.